Question 1. Surplus lines insurance policy analysis. In South Dakota, an insured filed a claim under surplus lines insurance policy for damage to a commercial property caused by a severe storm. Upon review, the insurer denies coverage, citing a wind-driven rain exclusion in the policy. What legal principle best supports the insurer's decision? A. Principle of proximate cause. B. Doctrine of reasonable expectations. C. Principle of utmost good faith. D. Doctrine of concurrent causation. Answer is A. Principle of proximate cause. This principle is fundamental in insurance law and determines coverage based on the predominant cause of loss. In this scenario, the wind-driven rain exclusion aims to exclude losses caused by rain that enters the property due to wind, which is a common exclusion in property insurance policies. Insurers rely on this to limit coverage to losses directly caused by covered perils, such as wind damage itself, rather than subsequent rain damage. Question 2. Surplus lines insurance claims evaluation. During the evaluation of a complex surplus lines insurance claim in South Dakota, a claims adjuster finds discrepancies between the insured's submitted documentation and initial loss estimates. Which approach is most appropriate for the adjuster to ensure an accurate claim evaluation? A. Reassessing the scope of the claim based on initial estimates. B. Engaging a third-party appraiser to verify the documentation. C. Conducting further interviews with witnesses and experts. D. Reviewing similar claim cases handled by other insurers. Answer is C. Conducting further interviews with witnesses and experts. In surplus lines claims evaluation, obtaining additional information through interviews is essential to verify facts, assess the extent of damage, and corroborate the insured's documentation. This approach helps in resolving discrepancies and ensuring a thorough evaluation of the claim. Question 3. Surplus lines insurance claims settlement. In the context of surplus lines insurance claims settlement practices in South Dakota, which action best exemplifies compliance with regulatory requirements regarding settlement agreements? A. Negotiating a settlement amount that is within the insurer's budgetary limits. B. Releasing the insured from any further liability without documenting the terms. C. Providing a detailed settlement agreement outlining terms and conditions. D. Advising the insured to seek independent legal counsel before settlement. Answer is C. Providing a detailed settlement agreement outlining terms and conditions. In South Dakota, as in many states, surplus lines insurers must adhere to regulatory requirements that mandate clear and documented settlement agreements. These agreements should outline the terms of the settlement, including any releases of liability, payment amounts, and other pertinent details. This ensures transparency and prevents misunderstandings between the insurer and the insured. Question 4. Surplus lines insurance claims investigation. In the course of investigating a complex surplus lines insurance claim in South Dakota involving a fire at a commercial property, what role do outside experts typically play, and why is their involvement crucial? A. Providing legal advice on coverage disputes. B. Assessing the structural integrity of the damaged property. C. Negotiating settlement terms with the insured. D. Conducting interviews with witnesses and stakeholders. Answer is B. Assessing the structural integrity of the damaged property. In surplus lines insurance claims investigation, outside experts such as forensic engineers or building consultants play a crucial role in assessing the physical damage to the property. Their expertise helps determine the extent of damage, evaluate repair costs, and provide technical insights that aid in claim evaluation and resolution. Question 5. Surplus lines insurance claims litigation. During litigation of a surplus lines insurance claim in South Dakota, the insured argues that the insurer acted in bad faith by delaying the claim settlement process. Which legal principle is most relevant in determining whether bad faith occurred? A. Principle of indemnity. B. Principle of subrogation. C. Principle of fair claims handling. D. Principle of insurable interest. Answer is C. Principle of fair claims handling. In South Dakota, as in many states, insurers are required to handle claims fairly and promptly. Bad faith claims arise when insurers unreasonably delay or deny claims without proper justification. The principle of fair claims handling mandates insurers to act promptly, investigate claims thoroughly, and communicate effectively with insureds. Failure to meet these standards may lead to allegations of bad faith. Question 6. Surplus lines insurance claims ethics and professionalism. Discuss a scenario where a surplus lines claims adjuster in South Dakota faces a conflict of interest situation. What ethical considerations should the adjuster prioritize to maintain professionalism and compliance with regulatory standards? A. Disclosing potential conflicts of interest to all parties involved. B. Delaying the claim assessment to avoid bias. C. Consulting with legal counsel before making any decisions. D. Negotiating directly with the insured without involving other stakeholders. Answer is A. Disclosing potential conflicts of interest to all parties involved. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters must adhere to high ethical standards and avoid conflicts of interest that could compromise their objectivity and fairness in handling claims. Disclosing any potential conflicts of interest ensures transparency and allows affected parties to assess the adjuster's impartiality. Question 7. Regulatory compliance in surplus lines claims handling. In South Dakota, what are the primary regulatory requirements that surplus lines insurers must comply with regarding claims handling practices? How do these requirements ensure consumer protection and fair treatment? A. Submitting claims reports to the Department of Insurance. B. Adhering to fair claims settlement practices. C. Maintaining adequate reserves for claim payments. D. Obtaining approval for claims handling procedures from insureds. Answer is B. Adhering to fair claims settlement practices. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers are required to handle claims fairly and promptly, adhering to specific guidelines that ensure consumers receive fair treatment. These practices include conducting timely investigations, providing clear communication, and offering reasonable settlements based on policy terms and state regulations. Adherence to fair claims settlement practices protects consumers from unfair practices and ensures insurers meet their obligations under state law. Question 8. Introduction to surplus lines insurance. Explain the concept of surplus lines insurance and its purpose in the insurance market. How does it differ from standard insurance policies offered by admitted insurers? A. Surplus lines insurers provide coverage for risks that are not available from admitted insurers. B. Surplus lines insurance is regulated by federal law only. C. Surplus lines policies are typically cheaper due to low coverage limits. D. Surplus lines insurers are exempt from claims handling regulations. Answer is A. Surplus lines insurers provide coverage for risks that are not available from admitted insurers. Surplus lines insurance fills gaps in the insurance market by providing coverage for risks that admitted insurers may decline to cover due to high risk, uniqueness, or other factors. These policies are often tailored to specific needs and may offer broader coverage options than standard admitted policies. Question 9. Surplus lines insurance claims process. Describe the importance of effective communication and documentation in surplus lines claims handling. Provide examples of how these practices can mitigate disputes and ensure claim resolution efficiency in South Dakota. A. Communicating claim decisions promptly to insureds. B. Documenting all claim-related activities and communications. C. Limiting communication with insureds to written correspondence only. D. Communicating claims status only upon insured request. Answer is B. Documenting all claim-related activities and communications. In surplus lines claims handling, effective communication and documentation are crucial for several reasons. Documenting all interactions, decisions, and findings helps maintain a clear record of the claim process, which can mitigate disputes, ensure transparency, and support the insurer's position in case of litigation or regulatory scrutiny. It also facilitates efficient claim resolution by providing a comprehensive overview that helps all parties involved understand the progress and decisions made throughout the claims handling process. Question 10. Surplus lines insurance claims settlement. In South Dakota, explain the concept of reserving in surplus lines insurance claims settlement. How does accurate reserving contribute to effective claims management? A. Reserving ensures timely payment of claims regardless of policy coverage. B. Reserving estimates future claim costs based on current information. C. Reserving determines the insured's liability for claim-related expenses. D. Reserving reduces the insurer's obligation to investigate claims thoroughly. Answer is B. Reserving estimates future claim costs based on current information. In surplus lines insurance claims settlement, reserving is the process of estimating the ultimate cost of claims that the insurer expects to pay. Accurate reserving is essential for effective claims management as it helps insurers allocate sufficient funds to cover future claim payments, manage financial stability, and comply with regulatory requirements. By estimating claim costs early based on current information and adjusting as new details emerge, insurers can make informed decisions and ensure fair treatment of policyholders. Question 11. Surplus lines insurance claims evaluation. During the evaluation of a surplus lines insurance claim in South Dakota, the insurer discovers that the insured failed to disclose a relevant fact about prior losses on their application. How does this non-disclosure impact the insurer's evaluation of the claim? A. It invalidates coverage under the principle of misrepresentation. B. It requires the insurer to deny the claim without investigation. C. It shifts the burden of proof to the insured to prove the fact's relevance. D. It allows the insurer to delay the claim evaluation pending further investigation. Answer is A. It invalidates coverage under the principle of misrepresentation. In South Dakota and other jurisdictions, insurers rely on the principle of misrepresentation when an insured fails to disclose material facts that could affect the underwriting decision. Immaterial misrepresentation, such as failing to disclose prior losses, can invalidate coverage under the policy even if the non-disclosure was unintentional. Insurers may deny the claim based on the misrepresentation as it affects the validity and enforceability of the insurance contract. Question 12. Surplus lines insurance policy analysis. Explain the concept of surplus lines insurance policy's non-admitted status in South Dakota. How does this status affect policyholders and insurers compared to admitted insurers? A non-admitted status allows surplus lines insurers to offer policies without state regulatory oversight. B. Non-admitted status requires surplus lines insurers to offer broader coverage than admitted insurers. C. Non-admitted status limits surplus lines insurers' ability to offer policies for high-risk assets. D. Non-admitted status requires surplus lines insurers to obtain approval for policy forms from state regulators. Answer is A. Non-admitted status allows surplus lines insurers to offer policies without state regulatory oversight. Surplus lines insurance policies are issued by insurers that are not licensed or admitted in the state where the risk is located. This non-admitted status means these insurers do not have to comply with all regulatory requirements that apply to admitted insurers, such as rate and form approval. However, non-admitted insurers are subject to specific regulatory oversight, including financial solvency requirements and compliance with surplus lines laws to ensure consumer protection and fair practices. Question 13. Surplus lines insurance claims investigation. In South Dakota, a surplus lines insurer receives a claim for water damage to a residential property. During the investigation, the insurer discovers that the damage occurred due to a pre-existing plumbing issue that the insured failed to disclose. How should the insurer handle this situation based on regulatory guidelines? A. Deny the claim due to the insured's failure to disclose the pre-existing condition. B. Investigate further to determine if the pre-existing condition is related to the current claim. C. Offer partial coverage for the claim under goodwill to maintain customer satisfaction. D. Delay the claim processing until the insured provides documentation of the pre-existing condition. Answer is A. Deny the claim due to the insured's failure to disclose the pre-existing condition. In South Dakota and in many states, insurers have the right to deny a claim if the insured failed to disclose material information, such as pre-existing conditions, that could affect coverage. This principle upholds the integrity of insurance contracts and ensures that policyholders provide accurate and complete information during the application process. Denying the claim in such cases is consistent with regulatory requirements and helps prevent fraud and unfair claims practices. Question 14. Surplus lines insurance claims ethics and professionalism. Discuss the ethical considerations and professional standards that surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must adhere to when handling claims involving large commercial losses. Provide examples of ethical dilemmas they might encounter and how to resolve them. A. Prioritizing quick settlement over thorough investigation. B. Disclosing confidential claim information to competitors. C. Providing accurate and timely updates to insureds. D. Delaying claims payment to exert leverage in negotiations. Answer is C. Providing accurate and timely updates to insureds. Surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must adhere to ethical standards that prioritize transparency, fairness, and confidentiality in claims handling. Providing accurate and timely updates to insureds fosters trust, ensures informed decision-making, and demonstrates respect for policyholders' rights. It also helps manage expectations and mitigate potential disputes throughout the claims process. Question 15. Surplus lines insurance claims litigation. During litigation of a surplus lines insurance claim in South Dakota, the insured alleges that the insurer's claims adjuster misrepresented the terms of the policy during initial discussions. How should the insurer address this allegation to mitigate legal risks and uphold ethical standards? A. Deny the allegation without further investigation. B. Acknowledge the insured's concerns and conduct an internal review. C. File a counterclaim against the insured for defamation. D. Delay responding until the insured provides evidence of the alleged misrepresentation. Answer is B. Acknowledge the insured's concerns and conduct an internal review. In South Dakota, insurers should take allegations of misrepresentation seriously and investigate them promptly and thoroughly. Acknowledging the insured's concerns demonstrates commitment to fair claims practices and ethical standards. Conducting an internal review allows the insurer to gather facts, assess the validity of the allegation, and take appropriate actions to address any potential errors or misunderstandings. Question 16. Surplus lines insurance policy analysis. Explain the concept of surplus lines insurance policy exclusions and their impact on coverage. Provide examples of common exclusions found in surplus lines policies in South Dakota and their rationale. A. Exclusions limit coverage to certain geographic regions. B. Exclusions exclude coverage for specific types of losses. C. Exclusions reduce the insured's liability for claims. D. Exclusions waive the insured's right to appeal claim decisions. Answer is B. Exclusions exclude coverage for specific types of losses. Surplus lines insurance policies often include exclusions that specify circumstances, risks, or types of losses for which coverage is not provided. These exclusions help insurers manage risks associated with unique or high-risk exposures that may not be adequately priced or underwritten by admitted insurers. Common examples in South Dakota may include exclusions for intentional acts, war, terrorism, and environmental pollution, among others. Understanding these exclusions is crucial for insureds and insurers to assess coverage limitations and manage risk effectively. Question 17. Surplus lines insurance claims process. During the claims process for a surplus lines insurance policy in South Dakota, the insured submits a claim that includes expenses not covered under the policy terms. How should the insurer handle these expenses to ensure compliance with regulatory requirements and fair treatment of the insured? A. Deny coverage for all claimed expenses due to policy limitations. B. Negotiate a partial settlement for the claimed expenses. C. Offer to reimburse the insured for the non-covered expenses. D. Delay the claims process until the insured provides additional documentation. Answer is A. Deny coverage for all claimed expenses due to policy limitations. In South Dakota, insurers must adhere to the policy terms and exclusions when evaluating claims. If expenses are clearly excluded under the policy, the insurer has the right to deny coverage for those specific items or losses. This approach ensures consistency in claims handling, maintains underwriting integrity, and protects insurers from overextending coverage beyond the policy's intended scope. Insurers should communicate clearly with insureds about policy limitations and provide explanations for claim denials based on policy terms and regulatory requirements. Question 18. Introduction to surplus lines insurance. Compare and contrast the regulatory framework for surplus lines insurance between South Dakota and a neighboring state like North Dakota. What are the key differences in licensing requirements and regulatory oversight that surplus lines insurers should consider? A. South Dakota requires surplus lines insurers to report premiums, while North Dakota mandates quarterly reports. B. South Dakota allows surplus lines insurers to operate without local agents, unlike North Dakota. C. South Dakota prohibits surplus lines insurers from offering coverage for out-of-state risks, unlike North Dakota. D. South Dakota imposes stricter financial solvency requirements on surplus lines insurers compared to North Dakota. Answer is D. South Dakota imposes stricter financial solvency requirements on surplus lines insurers compared to North Dakota. Regulatory requirements for surplus lines insurance can vary significantly between states, impacting how insurers operate and comply with state laws. South Dakota may have more stringent financial solvency requirements to ensure the stability and solvency of surplus lines insurers operating within its jurisdiction. Insurers must be aware of these differences to effectively navigate licensing, reporting, and compliance obligations in both states. Question 19. Surplus lines insurance claims evaluation. Explain the role of loss adjustment techniques and tools in evaluating large commercial claims in surplus lines insurance. Provide examples of methodologies used in South Dakota and their impact on claim assessment. A. Utilizing actuarial tables to estimate claim reserves. B. Conducting site inspections and damage assessments. C. Consulting with legal experts to interpret policy terms. D. Reviewing historical claims data to predict future losses. Answer is B. Conducting site inspections and damage assessments. In surplus lines insurance, evaluating large commercial claims often involves detailed site inspections and damage assessments to accurately assess the extent of loss. Insurers may use specialized tools such as drones, forensic experts, and engineers to gather data and analyze damages. This approach helps insurers validate claims, determine coverage, and negotiate settlements based on factual evidence collected during the inspection process. Site inspections are crucial in South Dakota and other states to ensure thorough evaluation and fair resolution of large commercial claims. Question 20. Surplus lines insurance claims litigation. In the context of surplus lines insurance claims litigation in South Dakota, explain the role of alternative dispute resolution (ADA) methods such as mediation and arbitration. How do these methods benefit insurers and insureds compared to traditional litigation? A. ADR methods allow insurers to avoid compliance with state regulations. B. Mediation and arbitration ensure faster resolution of claims disputes. C. ADR methods shift the burden of proof from insureds to insurers. D. Mediation and arbitration require insurers to disclose confidential claim information. Answer is B. Mediation and arbitration ensure faster resolution of claims disputes. Alternative dispute resolution (ADA) methods such as mediation and arbitration offer insurers and insureds in South Dakota an alternative to traditional litigation. These methods are typically faster, less formal, and more cost-effective than court proceedings. They allow parties to negotiate settlements, resolve disputes privately, and maintain control over the outcome without lengthy court delays. Mediation and arbitration promote cooperation, reduce legal expenses, and often lead to mutually acceptable resolutions, benefiting both parties involved in surplus lines insurance claims litigation. Question 21. Surplus lines insurance claims settlement. Explain the process of negotiating and documenting settlement agreements in surplus lines insurance claims in South Dakota. What considerations should insurers prioritize to ensure compliance with regulatory requirements and protect their interests? A. Offering lump sum settlements to expedite claim closure. B. Documenting settlement terms and conditions in writing. C. Negotiating settlements without involving insureds. D. Allowing insureds to dictate settlement terms. Answer is B. Documenting settlement terms and conditions in writing. In South Dakota and across jurisdictions, insurers must document settlement agreements thoroughly to ensure clarity, enforceability, and compliance with regulatory requirements. Written documentation helps establish the terms agreed upon, including payment amounts, release of liability, and any other conditions. This practice protects insurers from future disputes and ensures that all parties involved understand their obligations under the settlement. Insurers should prioritize detailed documentation to maintain transparency, comply with state laws, and protect their interests during surplus lines insurance claims settlement processes. Question 22. Surplus lines insurance claims investigation. Discuss the role of outside experts and specialists in the investigation of complex surplus lines insurance claims in South Dakota. How should insurers select and utilize these experts to enhance claims handling efficiency and accuracy? A. Outsourcing claims investigations to minimize internal costs. B. Consulting with legal experts to interpret policy language. C. Engaging engineers to assess structural damages. D. Referring claims to independent adjusters for final approval. Answer is C. Engaging engineers to assess structural damages. In South Dakota and other jurisdictions, insurers often rely on outside experts such as engineers, forensic specialists, and other professionals to investigate complex claims involving technical or specialized knowledge. Engaging engineers specifically helps insurers assess structural damages, determine causation, and validate claims based on expert analysis and reports. This approach enhances claims handling efficiency by leveraging specialized expertise, ensuring accurate evaluations, and supporting informed claims decisions. Question 23. Surplus lines insurance claims ethics and professionalism. Explain the ethical considerations surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must observe when handling claims involving catastrophic events such as natural disasters. How should adjusters balance insurer interests with policyholder needs during such challenging circumstances? A. Prioritizing prompt claims settlement over thorough investigation. B. Providing accurate and transparent communication to insureds. C. Withholding information about claim status to avoid panic. D. Delaying claims processing to manage financial resources. Answer is B. Providing accurate and transparent communication to insureds. Surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must adhere to ethical standards that prioritize clear and honest communication with policyholders, especially during catastrophic events. Providing accurate updates and information helps manage policyholder expectations, foster trust, and demonstrate professionalism in claims handling. It also ensures that insureds are informed about the status of their claims, understand the process, and have realistic expectations regarding claim resolution timelines and outcomes. Question 24. Introduction to surplus lines insurance. Compare the regulatory oversight of surplus lines insurance in South Dakota with a major insurance market state like California. What are the key differences in regulatory requirements and implications for surplus lines insurers operating in these states? A. South Dakota mandates surplus lines insurers to maintain higher capital reserves than California. B. California prohibits surplus lines insurers from offering coverage for high-risk assets. C. South Dakota requires surplus lines insurers to file annual financial reports. D. California allows surplus lines insurers to operate without surplus lines licenses. Answer is C. South Dakota requires surplus lines insurers to file annual financial reports. Regulatory requirements for surplus lines insurance vary between states, impacting how insurers operate and comply with state laws. South Dakota and California have distinct regulatory frameworks. South Dakota requires surplus lines insurers to file annual financial reports to demonstrate financial solvency and compliance with state laws. In contrast, California imposes different requirements, such as specific licensing and eligibility criteria for surplus lines insurers. These differences affect insurer operations, compliance costs, and regulatory oversight in each state. Question 25. Surplus lines insurance claims settlement. Explain the concept of reserving and estimating claim costs in surplus lines insurance. How do insurers in South Dakota determine and adjust reserves during the claims settlement process? Provide examples of factors that influence reserve adjustments. A. Adjusting reserves based on insured's financial status. B. Using actuarial models to predict claim costs. C. Delaying reserve adjustments to mitigate financial risks. D. Revising reserves based on ongoing claim investigations. Answer is D. Revising reserves based on ongoing claim investigations. In surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota, insurers regularly assess and adjust reserves to reflect updated information gathered during the claims investigation process. Adjusting reserves based on ongoing investigations ensures that reserves accurately reflect potential claim liabilities, taking into account new evidence, legal developments, and other relevant factors. This practice helps insurers manage financial stability, comply with regulatory requirements, and accurately estimate claim costs throughout the settlement process. Question 26. Surplus lines insurance claims ethics and professionalism. Discuss the ethical considerations surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota should observe when handling claims involving confidential information and sensitive data. How should adjusters balance ethical obligations with legal requirements and policyholder privacy concerns? A. Sharing claim details with competitors to expedite settlements. B. Ensuring secure handling and confidentiality of claim information. C. Using claim information for personal gain or advancement. D. Delaying claim payments to avoid privacy breaches. Answer is B. Ensuring secure handling and confidentiality of claim information. Surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must prioritize ethical standards that safeguard policyholder confidentiality and sensitive claim information. Ensuring secure handling of information involves maintaining strict confidentiality protocols, limiting access to authorized personnel, and using secure systems for data storage and transmission. This approach not only complies with legal requirements for privacy protection, but also builds trust with policyholders and reduces the risk of data breaches or unauthorized disclosures. Question 27. Surplus lines insurance claims process. Explain the importance of effective communication and documentation in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. How do clear communication and comprehensive documentation enhance claims management and regulatory compliance? A. Minimizing communication to streamline claims processing. B. Documenting all claim activities and decisions. C. Avoiding communication with insureds to reduce disputes. D. Using informal communication channels for speed. Answer is B. Documenting all claim activities and decisions. In surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota, effective communication and comprehensive documentation are critical for ensuring transparency, compliance with regulatory requirements, and efficient claims resolution. Documenting all claim activities, including communications with insureds, investigation findings, and settlement negotiations, helps insurers demonstrate adherence to fair claims practices, regulatory standards, and internal policies. It also provides a clear record of actions taken, supporting the consistency and defensibility of claims decisions throughout the process. Question 28. Surplus lines insurance claims investigation. Discuss the significance of interviewing insureds, witnesses, and other involved parties in the investigation of surplus lines insurance claims in South Dakota. What are the key considerations for conducting effective interviews to gather relevant information and evidence? A. Conducting interviews remotely to minimize costs. B. Using leading questions to guide interview responses. C. Obtaining signed statements to document interviews. D. Avoiding interviews to streamline claims processing. Answer is C. Obtaining signed statements to document interviews. In surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota, obtaining signed statements from insureds, witnesses, and other involved parties is crucial for documenting interviews and preserving evidence. Signed statements provide a formal record of statements made during interviews, including details relevant to the claim investigation. This practice helps insurers verify facts, assess credibility, and support claims decisions based on accurate and documented information gathered during the investigation process. Question 29. Surplus lines insurance policy analysis. Explain the concept of surplus lines insurance policy endorsements and their impact on coverage in South Dakota. Provide examples of common endorsements and how they modify or extend coverage under surplus lines policies. A. Endorsements exclude coverage for specific perils. B. Endorsements cancel policies due to non-payment. C. Endorsements limit policy terms to 1 year. D. Endorsements extend coverage for additional insureds. Answer is D. Endorsements extend coverage for additional insureds. Surplus lines insurance policy endorsements in South Dakota often modify or extend coverage beyond standard policy terms to meet specific insured needs or contractual requirements. Endorsements may add additional insureds, expand coverage limits, or clarify ambiguous policy language to enhance policyholder protections. Insurers issue endorsements to reflect agreed-upon changes to the policy terms, ensuring that coverage aligns with the insured's risk exposures and contractual obligations. Question 30. Surplus lines insurance claims litigation. Explain the process of managing surplus lines insurance claims litigation in South Dakota, focusing on the role of legal counsel and key considerations for insurers. How should insurers collaborate with legal experts to navigate litigation effectively? A. Allowing legal counsel to make unilateral decisions in litigation. B. Engaging in discovery to gather evidence and prepare defenses. C. Withholding information from legal counsel to protect privacy. D. Settling claims without legal involvement to avoid expenses. Answer is B. Engaging in discovery to gather evidence and prepare defenses. In South Dakota, managing surplus lines insurance claims litigation involves engaging in discovery to gather evidence, assess legal defenses, and prepare strategies for litigation. Insurers collaborate closely with legal counsel to respond to legal claims, participate in discovery proceedings, and present defenses based on factual evidence and legal arguments. This process allows insurers to protect their interests, evaluate settlement options, and manage litigation risks effectively under South Dakota's legal framework. Question 31. Regulatory compliance in surplus lines claims handling. Explain the regulatory requirements for surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota regarding fair claims practices and consumer protection laws. How do these regulations ensure fair treatment of policyholders and compliance with state laws? A. Providing expedited claims processing to select policyholders. B. Adhering to claim settlement timelines mandated by state law. C. Delaying claims investigations to manage resource allocation. D. Referring all claims to external arbitrators for resolution. Answer is B. Adhering to claim settlement timelines mandated by state law. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers must comply with specific claim settlement timelines outlined in state regulations to ensure fair treatment of policyholders. These timelines mandate timely claims handling, prompt communication with insureds, and efficient resolution of claims. Adherence to these timelines promotes transparency, supports policyholder expectations, and helps insurers avoid regulatory penalties or legal disputes related to delayed claims processing. Question 32. Surplus lines insurance claims evaluation. Discuss the methods used by surplus lines insurers in South Dakota to evaluate the extent and value of claims. How do these methods differ from those used in standard lines insurance? Provide examples of tools and techniques utilized in surplus lines claims evaluation. A. Utilizing standard industry benchmarks to assess claim value. B. Applying specialized tools for estimating replacement costs. C. Ignoring loss adjustment techniques to expedite claim closure. D. Relying solely on insured self-reported claim estimates. Answer is B. Applying specialized tools for estimating replacement costs. Surplus lines insurers in South Dakota often employ specialized tools and techniques to evaluate the extent and value of claims, particularly for unique or high-value assets not covered under standard lines insurance. These tools may include cost estimation software, valuation services, and expert assessments to determine accurate replacement costs and claim values. This approach ensures insurers provide fair compensation to policyholders and accurately assess claim liabilities, reflecting the unique nature of surplus lines risks and coverage. Question 33. Introduction to surplus lines insurance. Explain the regulatory framework and licensing requirements for surplus lines insurance in South Dakota compared to a neighboring state like North Dakota. What are the key differences in licensing procedures and implications for surplus lines insurers operating in these states? A. North Dakota requires surplus lines insurers to obtain federal licenses. B. South Dakota imposes stricter eligibility criteria for surplus lines insurers. C. North Dakota mandates surplus lines insurers to file annual reports. D. South Dakota allows surplus lines insurers to operate without state licenses. Answer is C. North Dakota mandates surplus lines insurers to file annual reports. Regulatory frameworks for surplus lines insurance vary between states such as South Dakota and North Dakota, influencing licensing requirements and operational guidelines for insurers. North Dakota requires surplus lines insurers to file annual reports to demonstrate financial solvency, compliance with state laws, and adherence to regulatory standards. This reporting requirement ensures transparency, accountability, and regulatory oversight in surplus lines insurance operations within the state. Question 34. Surplus lines insurance claims settlement. Discuss the role of negotiation in surplus lines insurance claims settlement in South Dakota. What strategies should claims adjusters employ to achieve fair and efficient settlements while ensuring compliance with regulatory requirements? A. Offering minimum settlements to expedite claim closure. B. Using mediation to resolve disputes between parties. C. Refusing to negotiate claims involving high settlement demands. D. Settling claims without verifying policy coverage. Answer is B. Using mediation to resolve disputes between parties. Negotiation and mediation are integral to surplus lines insurance claims settlement in South Dakota, facilitating resolution of disputes between insurers, policyholders, and other involved parties. Mediation allows claims adjusters to collaborate with stakeholders, explore mutually acceptable settlement terms, and resolve conflicts through facilitated negotiation sessions. This approach promotes fair and efficient claims resolution while complying with regulatory standards for dispute resolution and maintaining policyholder satisfaction. Question 35. Surplus lines insurance claims ethics and professionalism. Explain the ethical considerations surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must address when handling claims involving multiple policyholders and complex coverage scenarios. How should adjusters prioritize fairness and transparency in these situations? A. Disclosing confidential policyholder information to competitors. B. Prioritizing swift claims processing over thorough coverage reviews. C. Communicating openly about coverage limitations and exclusions. D. Accepting claim settlements without policyholder consent. Answer is C. Communicating openly about coverage limitations and exclusions. Surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must uphold ethical standards by communicating openly and transparently with policyholders about coverage terms, limitations, and exclusions. This includes providing clear explanations of policy provisions, potential claim outcomes, and any factors that may affect coverage decisions. Transparency fosters trust, ensures informed decision-making by policyholders, and demonstrates professionalism in claims handling, aligning with ethical guidelines and regulatory expectations. Question 36. Surplus lines insurance claims process. Explain the importance of compliance with fair claims practices in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. How do these practices protect policyholders and ensure regulatory adherence? A. Allowing claims adjusters to make unilateral claim decisions. B. Using standardized claim settlement forms for efficiency. C. Providing policyholders with clear claim denial letters. D. Delaying claims processing to manage workload. Answer is C. Providing policyholders with clear claim denial letters. Fair claims practices in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota require insurers to provide policyholders with clear, detailed explanations when denying claims. Clear denial letters outline reasons for claim denials, cite policy provisions or exclusions, and inform policyholders of their appeal rights or recourse options. This practice ensures transparency, helps policyholders understand claim decisions, and facilitates compliance with regulatory requirements for fair claims handling. Question 37. Surplus lines insurance claims investigation. Explain the significance of utilizing outside experts and specialists in the investigation of complex surplus lines insurance claims in South Dakota. How do these experts enhance the claims investigation process, and what factors should insurers consider when engaging external resources? A. Limiting expert involvement to reduce claims expenses. B. Collaborating with experts to validate claim details. C. Avoiding expert opinions to expedite claim resolution. D. Exclusively relying on insured's assessments. Answer is B. Collaborating with experts to validate claim details. In South Dakota, engaging outside experts and specialists is essential in complex surplus lines insurance claims investigations to validate claim details, assess damages, and provide expert opinions on technical aspects of the claim. Collaboration with experts such as engineers, appraisers, or forensic accountants helps insurers gather reliable evidence, evaluate claim validity, and make informed claims decisions based on expert insights. This approach enhances the credibility of claims assessments, supports regulatory compliance, and strengthens insurers' positions in claim negotiations or litigation. Question 38. Surplus lines insurance policy analysis. Discuss the importance of interpreting policy language and exclusions in surplus lines insurance policies in South Dakota. How should claims adjusters approach policy interpretation to ensure accurate coverage assessment and claims decisions? A. Ignoring policy language to expedite claims processing. B. Consulting legal experts for policy interpretation. C. Excluding coverage for ambiguous policy terms. D. Offering settlements without policy review. Answer is B. Consulting legal experts for policy interpretation. Surplus lines insurance policies in South Dakota often contain complex language and exclusions that require careful interpretation to determine coverage applicability. Claims adjusters should consult legal experts or refer to legal resources to interpret policy language accurately, clarify ambiguous terms or exclusions, and ensure consistent application of policy provisions in claims decisions. This practice helps insurers avoid coverage disputes, comply with regulatory standards, and provide fair and accurate claims resolutions based on clear policy interpretations. Question 39. Surplus lines insurance claims litigation. Explain the role of alternative dispute resolution (ADA) methods in resolving surplus lines insurance claims disputes in South Dakota. How do ADR methods differ from traditional litigation, and what benefits do they offer to insurers and policyholders? ADR methods prioritize judicial oversight in claim disputes. B. ADR methods involve formal court proceedings. C. ADR methods streamline claims resolution timelines. D. ADR methods exclude policyholder involvement. Answer is C. ADR methods streamline claims resolution timelines. Alternative dispute resolution ADA methods such as mediation or arbitration offer expedited and cost-effective alternatives to traditional litigation for resolving surplus lines insurance claims disputes in South Dakota. ADR methods involve neutral third-party facilitators who assist parties in reaching mutually acceptable resolutions outside of formal court proceedings. This approach can reduce claims processing timelines, mitigate legal expenses, and promote amicable settlements that satisfy both insurers and policyholders, enhancing efficiency and maintaining positive insurer-policyholder relationships. Question 40. Surplus lines insurance claims evaluation. Discuss the process of reserving and estimating claim costs in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. What factors should claims adjusters consider when determining reserves, and how do these factors impact claims handling outcomes? A. Setting reserves based on insured's initial claim estimates. B. Adjusting reserves to reflect updated claim information. C. Withholding reserves to minimize financial disclosures. D. Using fixed reserves regardless of claim complexities. Answer is B. Adjusting reserves to reflect updated claim information. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers must adjust reserves throughout the claims handling process based on updated claim information, assessment of damages, and legal liability considerations. Claims adjusters should regularly review and adjust reserves to accurately reflect anticipated claim costs, potential liabilities, and settlement obligations. This practice supports financial transparency, compliance with regulatory requirements, and ensures insurers adequately prepare for claims payments without under or overestimating liabilities. Question 41. Surplus lines insurance claims ethics and professionalism. Explain the ethical considerations surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must address when handling claims involving high-value assets or complex coverage disputes. How should adjusters uphold professional standards while balancing insurer and policyholder interests? A. Prioritizing swift claims denials to manage workload. B. Providing impartial claim assessments based on evidence. C. Sharing confidential claim details with external parties. D. Delaying claims decisions to avoid policyholder contact. Answer is B. Providing impartial claim assessments based on evidence. Surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must uphold ethical standards by providing impartial and evidence-based assessments of claims involving high-value assets or complex coverage disputes. This includes objectively evaluating claim evidence, considering policy terms and exclusions, and making fair and informed claims decisions that align with insurer obligations and policyholder rights. Upholding professional standards ensures transparency, fairness, and trustworthiness in claims handling practices, fostering positive insurer-policyholder relationships and regulatory compliance. Question 42. Introduction to surplus lines insurance. Compare and contrast the advantages of surplus lines insurance over standard lines insurance in South Dakota. What unique risks do surplus lines policies cover, and how do these policies benefit insureds in specific industries or situations? A. Surplus lines policies offer broader coverage for high-risk exposures. B. Standard lines insurance provides more flexible policy terms. C. Surplus lines policies restrict coverage for common perils. D. Standard lines insurance requires higher premium payments. Answer is A. Surplus lines policies offer broader coverage for high-risk exposures. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurance provides specialized coverage for risks that standard insurance markets may not cover due to their unique or high-risk nature. Surplus lines policies offer broader coverage options, higher limits, and tailored solutions for insureds facing complex or non-standard risks, such as in the construction, technology, or entertainment industries. This flexibility allows insureds to obtain comprehensive protection against specific perils or liabilities not typically covered by standard lines insurance, addressing their unique risk management needs effectively. Question 43. Surplus lines insurance claims process. Explain the role of effective communication and documentation in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. How do these practices enhance claims management and ensure compliance with regulatory requirements? A. Minimizing communication to reduce claims processing time. B. Documenting claim activities to support decisions and actions. C. Delaying claim notifications to manage workload. D. Providing verbal claim settlements without written records. Answer is B. Documenting claim activities to support decisions and actions. In South Dakota, effective communication and documentation are crucial in surplus lines insurance claims handling to ensure clarity, transparency, and compliance with regulatory requirements. Claims adjusters must document all claim activities, communications with policyholders, investigation findings, and decisions made throughout the claims process. This documentation serves as a record of claim handling procedures, supports claims decisions, and provides evidence of compliance with regulatory standards for claims documentation and reporting. By maintaining accurate and thorough records, insurers can demonstrate transparency, mitigate disputes, and uphold regulatory requirements in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 44. Surplus lines insurance claims investigation. Discuss the importance of claims investigation techniques and best practices in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. How should claims adjusters approach investigations to ensure thoroughness, accuracy, and compliance with regulatory requirements? A. Conducting superficial investigations to expedite claims closure. B. Using standardized investigation protocols for all claims. C. Interviewing witnesses to verify claim details and timelines. D. Avoiding external resources for evidence collection. Answer is C. Interviewing witnesses to verify claim details and timelines. Surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must employ effective investigation techniques, including interviewing witnesses to gather reliable evidence, verify claim details, and establish timelines accurately. Interviewing witnesses helps insurers corroborate insured statements, gather first-hand accounts of events, and uncover crucial information relevant to claims assessment and liability determination. This practice ensures thoroughness in claims investigations, supports accurate claims decisions, and complies with regulatory requirements for evidence gathering and claims handling procedures. Question 45. Surplus lines insurance claims settlement. Explain the implications of compliance with regulatory requirements in surplus lines insurance claims settlement agreements in South Dakota. What are the consequences of non-compliance, and how should insurers ensure adherence to regulatory standards? A. Modifying settlement terms without policyholder consent. B. Issuing settlement payments without verifying coverage. C. Complying with state-mandated settlement disclosure requirements. D. Delaying settlement negotiations indefinitely. Answer is C. Complying with state-mandated settlement disclosure requirements. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers must comply with specific regulatory requirements for claims settlement agreements, including disclosure of settlement terms, payment details, and policy coverage implications to policyholders. Compliance with these requirements ensures transparency, informs policyholders about settlement outcomes, and protects their rights throughout the claims settlement process. Failure to comply with regulatory standards may result in legal penalties, regulatory sanctions, or disputes with policyholders, highlighting the importance of adhering to state-mandated settlement disclosure requirements in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 46. Regulatory compliance in surplus lines claims handling. Discuss the significance of licensing and reporting requirements for surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. How do these regulatory measures ensure accountability and consumer protection in the insurance market? A. Ignoring licensing requirements to expedite claims processing. B. Reporting claims data inconsistently to regulatory bodies. C. Obtaining proper licensing to handle surplus lines claims. D. Delaying reporting of claims information indefinitely. Answer is C. Obtaining proper licensing to handle surplus lines claims. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers and claims adjusters must obtain appropriate licenses to handle surplus lines insurance transactions, ensuring competency, compliance with regulatory standards, and protection of consumer interests. Licensing requirements include passing examinations, meeting educational criteria, and maintaining ethical standards, demonstrating proficiency in surplus lines claims handling practices. Compliance with licensing mandates promotes transparency, professionalism, and accountability in the insurance market, safeguarding policyholder rights and fostering regulatory confidence in surplus lines insurers. Question 47. Surplus lines insurance claims ethics and professionalism. Explain the ethical considerations surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must address when handling claims involving multinational corporations or cross-border transactions. How should adjusters navigate cultural and legal differences while upholding professional standards? A. Applying uniform claims handling practices across jurisdictions. B. Consulting local legal experts for jurisdiction-specific advice. C. Excluding coverage for multinational policyholders. D. Avoiding communication with international claimants. Answer is B. Consulting local legal experts for jurisdiction-specific advice. Surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must navigate complex ethical considerations when handling claims involving multinational corporations or cross-border transactions. This includes understanding cultural nuances, legal frameworks, and regulatory requirements in different jurisdictions where insured events may occur. Consulting local legal experts helps adjusters interpret and apply applicable laws, regulations, and contractual terms accurately, ensuring compliance with local requirements and promoting fair claims outcomes. This approach demonstrates cultural sensitivity, respects legal diversity, and upholds professional standards in multinational claims handling scenarios. Question 48. Surplus lines insurance claims evaluation. Discuss the role of loss adjustment techniques and tools in evaluating the extent and value of surplus lines insurance claims in South Dakota. How should claims adjusters utilize these techniques to enhance claims assessment accuracy and efficiency? A. Using standardized loss adjustment forms for all claims. B. Implementing software for automated claim evaluations. C. Employing adjusters with minimal technical expertise. D. Applying detailed analysis based on claim-specific factors. Answer is D. Applying detailed analysis based on claim-specific factors. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters must utilize loss adjustment techniques to assess the extent and value of claims accurately. This involves conducting detailed analyses that consider claim-specific factors such as damages, liabilities, policy terms, and legal considerations. By applying comprehensive evaluation methods tailored to each claim, adjusters can ensure accurate claims assessments, support fair claims decisions, and comply with regulatory requirements for claims evaluation in surplus lines insurance. This approach enhances claims handling efficiency, minimizes disputes, and fosters policyholder trust through transparent and informed claims outcomes. Question 49. Surplus lines insurance claims settlement. Explain the process of negotiating and reaching a settlement agreement in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. What factors should claims adjusters consider to achieve fair and equitable settlements for both insurers and policyholders? A. Offering settlements without assessing policy coverage. B. Considering policy terms and evidence in settlement negotiations. C. Rejecting settlement offers to prolong claims resolution. D. Deciding settlements based on adjusters' intuition. Answer is B. Considering policy terms and evidence in settlement negotiations. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters must consider policy terms, evidence gathered during claims investigation, legal liabilities, and policyholder expectations when negotiating settlement agreements. By evaluating these factors, adjusters can determine fair and equitable settlements that align with policy provisions, comply with regulatory requirements, and meet insurer and policyholder expectations. This approach supports informed decision-making, minimizes disputes, and promotes fair claims outcomes in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 50. Introduction to surplus lines insurance. Discuss the regulatory framework and licensing requirements for surplus lines insurance in South Dakota. How do these regulations ensure market stability, consumer protection, and insurer accountability? A. Bypassing licensing requirements for surplus lines transactions. B. Obtaining surplus lines licenses to transact non-admitted insurance. C. Ignoring regulatory oversight to streamline insurance operations. D. Implementing self-regulation measures to bypass state laws. Answer is B. Obtaining surplus lines licenses to transact non-admitted insurance. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers must obtain specific licenses to transact non-admitted insurance, ensuring compliance with regulatory standards, competency in surplus lines insurance practices, and protection of consumer interests. Licensing requirements include meeting educational criteria, passing examinations, and maintaining ethical standards, demonstrating proficiency in surplus lines insurance operations. Compliance with licensing mandates fosters market stability, enhances consumer confidence, and promotes insurer accountability in surplus lines insurance transactions in South Dakota. Question 51. Surplus lines insurance claims litigation. Explain the litigation process in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. What strategies should insurers employ to effectively manage litigation expenses and resolve claims disputes through legal proceedings? A. Engaging in protracted litigation to exhaust claimants' resources. B. Collaborating with legal counsel to develop litigation strategies. C. Avoiding legal representation to reduce litigation costs. D. Delaying court proceedings to frustrate claimants. Answer is B. Collaborating with legal counsel to develop litigation strategies. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers should collaborate closely with legal counsel to develop effective litigation strategies tailored to the complexities of surplus lines insurance claims disputes. This includes assessing legal liabilities, gathering supporting evidence, and presenting compelling arguments in court to protect insurer interests and achieve favorable claims resolutions. By engaging legal expertise, insurers can navigate the litigation process, efficiently manage litigation expenses, and mitigate risks associated with surplus lines claims disputes. This approach supports strategic litigation management, regulatory compliance, and enhances insurer credibility in legal proceedings. Question 52. Surplus lines insurance policy analysis. Discuss the key terms and definitions in surplus lines insurance policies that impact claims handling in South Dakota. How should claims adjusters interpret and apply these terms to ensure accurate coverage determinations? A. Ignoring policy definitions to expedite claims processing. B. Consulting policyholders for interpretation of policy terms. C. Applying legal definitions to interpret policy language. D. Reviewing policy forms and endorsements for definitions. Answer is D. Reviewing policy forms and endorsements for definitions. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters must review policy forms, endorsements, and declarations to interpret key terms and definitions accurately in insurance policies. This includes understanding coverage limits, exclusions, deductibles, and other policy provisions that impact claims handling decisions. By referencing policy documents, adjusters can apply legal and industry standard definitions to ensure consistent and accurate interpretation of policy language, supporting fair and transparent claims outcomes. This approach facilitates compliance with regulatory requirements, minimizes disputes, and enhances policyholder understanding of coverage terms in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 53. Surplus lines insurance claims ethics and professionalism. Explain the ethical considerations surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must address when handling claims involving catastrophic events or widespread losses. How should adjusters prioritize ethical standards while managing high-volume claims? A. Adjusting claims indiscriminately to expedite settlement. B. Maintaining transparency in claims communications. C. Avoiding claims investigations to minimize workload. D. Delaying claims payments during catastrophic events. Answer is B. Maintaining transparency in claims communications. Surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must prioritize ethical standards by maintaining transparent and honest communication with policyholders, especially during catastrophic events or widespread losses. This includes providing timely updates, explaining claims processes, managing expectations, and disclosing relevant information about coverage, settlements, and claims decisions. Transparency fosters trust, enhances policyholder satisfaction, and supports ethical claims handling practices in challenging circumstances. By upholding professional standards, adjusters demonstrate integrity, comply with regulatory requirements, and mitigate risks associated with claims disputes or ethical lapses in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 54. Surplus lines insurance claims investigation. Discuss the role of utilizing outside experts and specialists in claims investigation for surplus lines insurance in South Dakota. How should claims adjusters leverage external resources to enhance claims handling effectiveness and accuracy? A. Relying solely on internal adjusters to manage claims investigations. B. Engaging specialized experts to evaluate complex claims issues. C. Excluding external opinions to streamline investigation processes. D. Using generalist investigators for all claims regardless of complexity. Answer is B. Engaging specialized experts to evaluate complex claims issues. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should engage external experts and specialists to evaluate complex or specialized claims issues that require specific technical knowledge or expertise. External resources such as forensic analysts, engineers, or legal consultants can provide critical insights, objective assessments, and specialized evaluations that enhance claims handling effectiveness, support accurate decision-making, and ensure compliance with regulatory requirements. By leveraging external expertise, adjusters can mitigate claims risks, optimize claims outcomes, and uphold professional standards in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 55. Surplus lines insurance claims evaluation. Explain the process of determining coverage and liability in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. What factors should claims adjusters consider to accurately assess coverage and establish insurer responsibilities? A. Ignoring policy exclusions to expedite claims settlements. B. Applying legal principles and policy provisions to claims assessment. C. Denying coverage without investigating claim circumstances. D. Setting arbitrary coverage limits without policyholder consultation. Answer is B. Applying legal principles and policy provisions to claims assessment. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters must apply legal principles and policy provisions to assess coverage and liability accurately in insurance claims. This includes interpreting policy terms, exclusions, conditions, and legal precedents to determine insurer responsibilities, coverage limitations, and policyholder entitlements. By applying these principles, adjusters ensure fair and equitable claims outcomes, comply with regulatory standards, and uphold contractual obligations in surplus lines insurance claims handling. This approach supports objective decision-making, minimizes disputes, and promotes transparency in insurer-policyholder interactions. Question 56. Surplus lines insurance claims litigation. Discuss the role of alternative dispute resolution (ADA) methods in resolving surplus lines insurance claims disputes in South Dakota. How should insurers utilize a DR to expedite claims resolution and mitigate litigation risks? A. Protracting a DR proceedings to exhaust claimants' resources. B. Using a DR to facilitate settlement negotiations outside court. C. Excluding policyholders from a DR discussions. D. Avoiding a DR to prolong litigation proceedings. Answer is B. Using a DR to facilitate settlement negotiations outside court. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers should utilize alternative dispute resolution methods such as mediation or arbitration to resolve claims disputes efficiently and expedite claims resolution outside formal court proceedings. A DR enables insurers and policyholders to negotiate settlements, clarify issues, and reach mutually agreeable solutions with the assistance of neutral third-party facilitators. By engaging in a DR, insurers can mitigate litigation risks, reduce legal expenses, and maintain positive insurer-policyholder relationships. This approach supports timely claims resolution, complies with regulatory obligations, and promotes cost-effective dispute resolution strategies in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 57. Surplus lines insurance claims settlement. Explain the importance of reserving and estimating claim costs in surplus lines insurance claims settlement in South Dakota. How should insurers calculate reserves and estimate claim expenses to ensure financial stability and regulatory compliance? A. Setting reserves without considering claim complexities. B. Using actuarial methods to calculate claim reserves. C. Delaying reserve calculations to manage cash flow. D. Ignoring reserve requirements to expedite claims settlements. Answer is B. Using actuarial methods to calculate claim reserves. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers should use actuarial methods and statistical models to calculate reserves accurately based on claim complexities, potential liabilities, and historical claims data. Actuarial reserve calculations help insurers estimate future claim payments, manage financial stability, and comply with regulatory reserve requirements. By using these methods, insurers can anticipate claim costs, allocate sufficient funds, and ensure solvency while meeting regulatory obligations for claims reserves in surplus lines insurance claims handling. This approach supports prudent financial management, mitigates financial risks, and enhances insurer credibility in claims settlement practices. Question 58. Surplus lines insurance claims process. Discuss the roles and responsibilities of key stakeholders in the surplus lines insurance claims process in South Dakota. How should collaboration among stakeholders enhance claims handling efficiency and effectiveness? A. Minimizing communication with stakeholders to expedite claims processing. B. Collaborating with insureds, brokers, and underwriters for claims information. C. Excluding stakeholders from claims discussions to streamline operations. D. Implementing unilateral decisions without stakeholder input. Answer is B. Collaborating with insureds, brokers, and underwriters for claims information. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims handling involves collaboration among key stakeholders, including insureds, brokers, underwriters, and claims adjusters. Effective communication and cooperation among these parties facilitate the exchange of claims information, policy details, coverage terms, and claim resolutions. By engaging stakeholders, adjusters can gather comprehensive claims data, validate coverage, assess liabilities, and expedite claims processing while ensuring accuracy and compliance with regulatory requirements. This collaborative approach supports transparent claims handling practices, minimizes disputes, and enhances policyholder satisfaction in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 59. Introduction to surplus lines insurance. Explain the advantages of surplus lines insurance for policyholders and insurers in South Dakota. How do these advantages contribute to market flexibility and consumer choice? A. Restricting insurance options to admitted insurers only. B. Offering coverage for unique or hard-to-place risks. C. Limiting coverage availability to standard policy terms. D. Ignoring policyholder preferences in insurance placements. Answer is B. Offering coverage for unique or hard-to-place risks. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurance provides advantages such as offering coverage for unique or hard-to-place risks that admitted insurers may decline to cover. This flexibility allows surplus lines insurers to tailor insurance solutions to specific needs, provide coverage where standard markets are unavailable, and support economic growth by insuring unconventional risks. For insurers, surplus lines insurance expands market opportunities, diversifies risk portfolios, and fosters innovation in insurance products. These advantages contribute to market stability, enhance consumer choice, and promote competitive insurance markets in South Dakota. Question 60. Surplus lines insurance claims investigation. Discuss the importance of gathering and evaluating evidence in surplus lines insurance claims investigation in South Dakota. How should adjusters utilize evidence to support fair and accurate claims decisions? A. Relying on anecdotal evidence to determine claim outcomes. B. Using forensic experts to gather evidence for all claims. C. Ignoring evidence collection to expedite claims processing. D. Conducting thorough investigations to collect relevant evidence. Answer is D. Conducting thorough investigations to collect relevant evidence. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters must conduct thorough investigations to gather and evaluate relevant evidence that supports fair and accurate claims decisions. This includes gathering physical evidence, witness statements, expert opinions, and documentation related to policy terms and claim circumstances. By analyzing collected evidence, adjusters can assess claim validity, determine coverage applicability, and negotiate fair settlements based on factual findings. Thorough evidence collection ensures transparency, minimizes disputes, and enhances insurer credibility in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 61. Surplus lines insurance claims ethics and professionalism. Discuss the ethical considerations surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota must navigate when handling claims involving multiple insureds with conflicting interests. How should adjusters uphold ethical standards while managing complex claims scenarios? A. Favoring insureds with higher policy limits. B. Disclosing conflicts of interest to all parties involved. C. Ignoring conflicts of interest to expedite claims resolution. D. Manipulating evidence to benefit preferred insureds. Answer is B. Disclosing conflicts of interest to all parties involved. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters must navigate ethical considerations by disclosing conflicts of interest promptly and transparently to all parties involved in claims handling processes. This includes identifying potential conflicts, such as representing multiple insureds with conflicting interests, and disclosing these conflicts to insureds, legal counsel, and other stakeholders. By maintaining transparency, adjusters demonstrate integrity, manage stakeholder expectations, and mitigate risks associated with perceived bias or unfair claims practices. Its ethical approach supports fair claims resolutions, upholds insurer credibility, and complies with regulatory standards in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 62. Surplus lines insurance policy analysis. Explain the implications of policy exclusions and limitations in surplus lines insurance policies for claims handling in South Dakota. How should adjusters interpret and apply these provisions to ensure accurate coverage determinations? A. Disregarding policy exclusions to expedite claims processing. B. Consulting legal counsel for interpretation of policy limitations. C. Excluding policyholders from coverage discussions. D. Applying standard industry practices to interpret policy provisions. Answer is B. Consulting legal counsel for interpretation of policy limitations. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should consult legal counsel or legal experts to interpret policy exclusions, limitations, and other provisions accurately in insurance policies. Legal interpretation helps adjusters apply relevant legal precedents, regulatory requirements, and industry standards to assess coverage, applicability, and liabilities. By consulting legal professionals, adjusters can mitigate dispute, ensure compliance with state regulations, and make informed decisions that align with policyholder expectations and insurer obligations in surplus lines insurance claims handling. This approach supports objective claims assessments, enhances policyholder satisfaction, and maintains insurer credibility in complex claims scenarios. Question 63. Regulatory compliance in surplus lines claims handling. Discuss the impact of recent regulatory developments on surplus lines insurance claims handling practices in South Dakota. How should insurers adapt to regulatory changes to maintain compliance and operational efficiency? A. Ignoring regulatory updates to expedite claims processing. B. Implementing training programs to educate claims adjusters on new regulations. C. Avoiding surplus lines insurance to circumvent regulatory oversight. D. Modifying claims handling practices without regulatory approval. Answer is B. Implementing training programs to educate claims adjusters on new regulations. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers should implement training programs to educate claims adjusters about recent regulatory developments impacting claims handling practices. This includes updates to state laws, regulatory requirements, consumer protection measures, and industry standards that affect surplus lines insurance operations. By educating adjusters, insurers ensure compliance with updated regulations, enhance claims handling effectiveness, and mitigate risks associated with non-compliance or regulatory violations. This proactive approach supports operational efficiency, maintains insurer credibility, and fosters regulatory compliance in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 64. Surplus lines insurance claims settlement. Explain the factors that surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota should consider when negotiating and reaching settlement agreements. How can adjusters ensure fair and equitable outcomes for all parties involved? A. Excluding policyholders from settlement negotiations. B. Considering policy terms and legal precedents in negotiations. C. Delaying settlement discussions to increase claim value. D. Avoiding negotiations to expedite claims processing. Answer is B. Considering policy terms and legal precedents in negotiations. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should consider policy terms, legal precedents, and factual evidence when negotiating settlement agreements. By aligning settlement offers with policy provisions and legal requirements, adjusters ensure fair and equitable outcomes that reflect coverage obligations and insurer responsibilities. This approach promotes transparency, mitigates disputes, and enhances policyholders' satisfaction in surplus lines insurance claims settlement. Adjusters must engage in collaborative negotiations, communicate effectively with policyholders, and uphold regulatory standards to achieve balanced and ethical claims resolutions. Question 65. Surplus lines insurance claims investigation. Discuss the role of interviews in surplus lines insurance claims investigation in South Dakota. How should claims adjusters conduct interviews to gather relevant information and assess claim validity? A. Conducting interviews without preparing specific questions. B. Using leading questions to influence interview outcomes. C. Conducting interviews with relevant parties to gather facts. D. Ignoring witness statements in claims investigations. Answer is C. Conducting interviews with relevant parties to gather facts. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should conduct interviews with insured's witnesses and other relevant parties to gather relevant information and assess claim validity effectively. Adjusters should prepare specific, unbiased questions to elicit factual details, timelines, and circumstances surrounding the claim. By conducting thorough interviews, adjusters can corroborate evidence, verify claim details, and make informed decisions regarding coverage and liability. This approach supports objective claims assessments, enhances claims handling accuracy, and facilitates fair resolutions in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 66. Surplus lines insurance claims evaluation. Explain the process of utilizing loss adjustment techniques and tools in evaluating surplus lines insurance claims in South Dakota. How should adjusters employ these techniques to determine claim value accurately? A. Using arbitrary methods to estimate claim costs. B. Employing statistical models to assess claim damages. C. Ignoring loss adjustment techniques to expedite claims processing. D. Delaying claim evaluations to increase settlement offers. Answer is B. Employing statistical models to assess claim damages. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should employ statistical models and actuarial techniques to evaluate claim damages accurately. These techniques use historical data, industry benchmarks, and predictive analytics to estimate claim costs, assess liability, and determine appropriate claim settlements. By applying objective loss adjustment techniques, adjusters can enhance claims evaluation accuracy, support fair and equitable outcomes, and ensure compliance with regulatory standards in surplus lines insurance claims handling. This approach facilitates transparent claims assessments, minimizes disputes, and promotes insurer credibility in claims settlement practices. Question 67. Surplus lines insurance claims litigation. Explain the role of legal counsel in managing surplus lines insurance claims litigation in South Dakota. How should insurers collaborate with legal professionals to navigate litigation effectively and mitigate legal risks? A. Delaying legal counsel involvement to minimize expenses. B. Collaborating with legal counsel to develop litigation strategies. C. Excluding legal counsel from claims litigation to expedite proceedings. D. Ignoring legal advice to avoid conflicts with policyholders. Answer is B. Collaborating with legal counsel to develop litigation strategies. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers should collaborate with legal counsel to develop effective litigation strategies that align with regulatory requirements, insurer obligations, and policyholder interests. Legal professionals provide expertise in interpreting laws, preparing legal defenses, and representing insurers in court proceedings or alternative dispute resolution (ADA) methods. By involving legal counsel early, insurers can mitigate legal risks, protect insurer interests, and achieve favorable outcomes in surplus lines insurance claims litigation. This approach supports strategic litigation management, enhances insurer credibility, and upholds compliance with legal standards in claims handling practices. Question 68. Introduction to surplus lines insurance. Discuss the regulatory framework and licensing requirements for surplus lines insurance in South Dakota. How do these regulations ensure market stability and consumer protection in surplus lines insurance transactions? A. Bypassing regulatory filings to expedite policy placements. B. Complying with surplus lines tax and reporting obligations. C. Avoiding licensing requirements for surplus lines transactions. D. Ignoring regulatory audits to maintain operational flexibility. Answer is B. Complying with surplus lines tax and reporting obligations. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers must comply with regulatory requirements, including surplus lines tax payments, reporting obligations, and licensing requirements for surplus lines transactions. These regulations ensure market stability by monitoring insurer solvency, regulating policy placements, and protecting policyholders through financial oversight and consumer protection measures. By adhering to surplus lines tax and reporting obligations, insurers contribute to state revenue, support regulatory transparency, and uphold market integrity in surplus lines insurance transactions. This regulatory framework promotes fair competition, enhances consumer trust, and maintains insurer accountability in South Dakota's insurance marketplace. Question 69. Surplus lines insurance policy analysis. Explain the significance of key terms and definitions in surplus lines insurance policies for claims handling in South Dakota. How should adjusters interpret and apply these terms to ensure accurate coverage determinations? A. Relying on industry standards to interpret policy terms. B. Disregarding policy definitions to expedite claims processing. C. Excluding insureds from policy term discussions. D. Consulting policyholders to interpret policy definitions. Answer is A. Relying on industry standards to interpret policy terms. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should rely on industry standards, legal definitions, and regulatory guidelines to interpret key terms and definitions in insurance policies accurately. Understanding these terms helps adjusters assess coverage applicability, determine policyholder entitlements, and uphold insurer obligations in claims handling processes. By applying industry standards, adjusters ensure consistent interpretation of policy provisions, mitigate disputes, and achieve fair and transparent claims resolutions in surplus lines insurance. This approach supports regulatory compliance, enhances claims handling efficiency, and maintains insurer credibility in South Dakota's insurance market. Question 70. Importance of effective communication in surplus lines claims handling. Discuss the importance of effective communication among stakeholders in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. How does clear communication enhance claims processing efficiency and ensure regulatory compliance? A. Limiting communication to policyholders only. B. Utilizing standardized communication templates. C. Excluding stakeholders from claims discussions. D. Establishing open dialogue with all involved parties. Answer is D. Establishing open dialogue with all involved parties. In South Dakota, effective communication among stakeholders, including insureds, brokers, underwriters, and claims adjusters, is crucial for efficient surplus lines insurance claims handling. Clear communication facilitates the exchange of critical information, policy details, and claims status updates, ensuring all parties are informed throughout the claims process. By establishing open dialogue, adjusters can address policyholder concerns promptly, clarify coverage terms, and collaborate on claims resolutions that align with regulatory requirements and policy provisions. This approach supports transparency, minimizes disputes, and enhances policyholder satisfaction in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. Question 71. Surplus lines insurance claims evaluation. Explain the role of reserving and estimating claim costs in surplus lines insurance claims evaluation in South Dakota. How should adjusters determine appropriate reserves to manage insurer liabilities and ensure financial stability? A. Setting arbitrary reserve amounts to expedite claims processing. B. Using actuarial methods to estimate claim reserves. C. Ignoring reserve requirements to minimize paperwork. D. Delaying reserve assessments to increase settlement offers. Answer is B. Using actuarial methods to estimate claim reserves. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should use actuarial methods and statistical analysis to estimate claim reserves accurately. Actuarial techniques consider claim data, historical trends, and potential liabilities to calculate reserve amounts that reflect anticipated claim costs and insurer obligations. By using objective methods, adjusters can manage insurer liabilities effectively, maintain financial stability, and ensure sufficient funds for claim payments without compromising regulatory compliance or policyholder entitlements. This approach supports prudent claims management, mitigates financial risks, and enhances insurer credibility in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 72. Surplus lines insurance claims handling process. Discuss the regulatory requirements and best practices for surplus lines insurance claims handling processes in South Dakota. How should adjusters adhere to these standards to ensure compliance and ethical conduct? A. Ignoring regulatory guidelines to expedite claims resolution. B. Collaborating with legal counsel to interpret regulations. C. Avoiding claims documentation to minimize paperwork. D. Delaying claims processing to increase policyholder satisfaction. Answer is B. Collaborating with legal counsel to interpret regulations. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should collaborate with legal counsel or compliance officers to interpret regulatory guidelines governing claims handling processes. Legal professionals provide expertise in navigating state laws, regulatory requirements, and industry standards applicable to surplus lines insurance claims. By consulting legal counsel, adjusters can ensure compliance with regulatory obligations, uphold ethical conduct, and mitigate risks associated with non-compliance or regulatory violations. This approach supports transparent claims handling practices, enhances regulatory compliance, and maintains insurer credibility in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. Question 73. Surplus lines insurance claims investigation. Explain the importance of gathering and evaluating evidence in surplus lines insurance claims investigation in South Dakota. How should adjusters utilize evidence to support claim decisions and ensure fair outcomes? A. Disregarding evidence to expedite claims processing. B. Relying on witness statements without verification. C. Conducting thorough evidence analysis and verification. D. Ignoring expert opinions in claims investigations. Answer is C. Conducting thorough evidence analysis and verification. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should conduct thorough evidence analysis and verification to support claim decisions accurately. This includes gathering relevant documentation, conducting interviews, and corroborating evidence to substantiate claim details and assess liability. By analyzing evidence meticulously, the adjusters can make informed decisions, uphold policyholder entitlements, and mitigate disputes or legal challenges in surplus lines insurance claims handling. This approach ensures objective claims assessments, enhances claims handling accuracy, and supports fair outcomes based on factual evidence and regulatory compliance. Question 74. Surplus lines insurance claims ethics and professionalism. Discuss the ethical considerations surplus lines claims adjusters in South Dakota should uphold when handling claims involving insureds from diverse cultural backgrounds. How should adjusters demonstrate cultural competence to ensure fair and respectful claims handling? A. Applying standardized claims handling procedures. B. Respecting cultural norms and values in communication. C. Avoiding communication with insureds from diverse backgrounds. D. Prioritizing claims of insureds from specific cultural backgrounds. Answer is B. Respecting cultural norms and values in communication. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should demonstrate cultural competence by respecting cultural norms, values, and communication styles when handling claims involving insureds from diverse backgrounds. Adjusters should adapt communication strategies, avoid assumptions, and demonstrate sensitivity to cultural differences to establish trust, ensure effective communication, and mitigate misunderstandings in claims handling processes. By respecting cultural norms, adjusters uphold ethical standards, promote inclusivity, and enhance policyholder satisfaction in surplus lines insurance claims handling. This approach fosters positive insurer-client relationships, supports fair claims resolutions, and maintains ethical conduct in a culturally diverse insurance marketplace. Question 75. Regulatory compliance in surplus lines claims handling. Explain the implications of state and federal regulations governing surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. How should insurers comply with these regulations to ensure legal adherence and consumer protection? A. Ignoring state and federal reporting requirements. B. Adhering to surplus lines tax and reporting obligations. C. Avoiding compliance with fair claims practices laws. D. Delaying claims reporting to minimize regulatory oversight. Answer is B. Adhering to surplus lines tax and reporting obligations. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers must adhere to state and federal regulations, including surplus lines tax payments, reporting requirements, and consumer protection laws governing claims handling practices. Compliance with surplus lines tax and reporting obligations ensures regulatory adherence, supports market transparency, and contributes to state revenue through appropriate tax payments. By complying with these regulations, insurers protect policyholder interests, maintain market stability, and uphold legal standards in surplus lines insurance transactions. This approach fosters regulatory confidence, mitigates legal risks, and enhances insurer credibility in South Dakota's insurance marketplace. Question 76. Surplus lines insurance claims settlement. Discuss the role of negotiation tactics in surplus lines insurance claims settlement in South Dakota. How should adjusters employ negotiation strategies to achieve equitable outcomes and maintain insurer credibility? A. Employing aggressive tactics to maximize insurer profits. B. Collaborating with insureds to reach mutually beneficial settlements. C. Avoiding negotiation discussions to expedite claims processing. D. Ignoring policy terms during settlement negotiations. Answer is B. Collaborating with insureds to reach mutually beneficial settlements. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should collaborate with insureds and stakeholders to employ negotiation strategies that prioritize fairness, transparency, and policy adherence in claims settlements. Adjusters should consider policy terms, legal guidelines, and factual evidence to negotiate equitable outcomes that align with insurer obligations and policyholder expectations. By fostering collaborative negotiations, adjusters can enhance policyholders' satisfaction, mitigate disputes, and uphold insurer credibility in surplus lines insurance claims settlement. This approach supports ethical claims handling practices, promotes insurer-client relationships, and ensures compliance with regulatory standards. Question 77. Surplus lines insurance claims litigation. Explain the benefits of alternative dispute resolution (ADA) methods in resolving surplus lines insurance claims disputes in South Dakota. How should insurers utilize ADR to expedite claims resolution and mitigate legal costs? A. Relying solely on litigation to resolve claims disputes. B. Utilizing mediation or arbitration to reach settlements. C. Ignoring ADR methods to avoid additional expenses. D. Delaying ADR proceedings to increase claim values. Answer is B. Utilizing mediation or arbitration to reach settlements. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers should utilize alternative dispute resolution methods such as mediation or arbitration to resolve claims disputes efficiently and cost-effectively. ADR allows insurers and policyholders to negotiate settlements outside of court, facilitating quicker resolutions, reducing legal costs, and preserving business relationships. By participating in mediation or arbitration, insurers can address claims disputes impartially, expedite claims processing, and achieve mutually acceptable outcomes that avoid the adversarial nature and uncertainties associated with litigation. This approach supports efficient claims management, enhances insurer-client relationships, and promotes dispute resolution fairness in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 78. Surplus lines insurance claims handling process. Discuss the role of technology and data analytics in enhancing surplus lines insurance claims handling processes in South Dakota. How should insurers leverage technology to improve claims efficiency and customer service? A. Implementing outdated systems to manage claims data. B. Using data analytics to predict claim trends and patterns. C. Avoiding technology adoption to minimize costs. D. Delaying claims processing to test new technology. Answer is B. Using data analytics to predict claim trends and patterns. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers should leverage technology and data analytics to analyze claims data, identify trends, and predict claim patterns effectively. Data analytics enable insurers to make data-driven decisions, optimize claims handling workflows, and allocate resources efficiently to manage claims volumes and complexities. By using advanced technology, insurers can enhance claims processing speed, accuracy, and customer service delivery, improving policyholder satisfaction and operational efficiency in surplus lines insurance claims handling. This approach supports innovation, enhances competitive advantage, and ensures regulatory compliance in a technologically evolving insurance marketplace. Question 79. Regulatory compliance in surplus lines insurance. Explain the impact of non-admitted insurance regulations on surplus lines insurance in South Dakota. How should insurers comply with these regulations to ensure legal adherence and regulatory approval? A. Ignoring non-admitted insurance requirements to expedite policy issuance. B. Adhering to state-specific eligibility and coverage criteria. C. Avoiding compliance with surplus lines tax filings. D. Delaying regulatory submissions to avoid scrutiny. Answer is B. Adhering to state-specific eligibility and coverage criteria. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers must comply with non-admitted insurance regulations, including state-specific eligibility criteria, coverage limitations, and compliance with surplus lines tax filings. Adherence to these regulations ensures legal compliance, regulatory approval, and market stability by managing risks associated with non-admitted insurers. Insurers must verify insured risks' eligibility for surplus lines coverage, adhere to state insurance laws, and fulfill surplus lines tax obligations to maintain regulatory approval and protect policyholders' interests. This approach supports regulatory transparency, enhances market integrity, and ensures insurer accountability in surplus lines insurance transactions in South Dakota. Question 80. Surplus lines insurance policy analysis. Discuss the implications of ambiguous policy language in surplus lines insurance policies for claims handling in South Dakota. How should adjusters interpret ambiguous terms to ensure fair and equitable claims resolutions? A. Seeking policyholder consent to interpret ambiguous terms. B. Refusing to interpret ambiguous policy language. C. Applying state-specific regulatory definitions. D. Consulting legal resources to interpret policy provisions. Answer is D. Consulting legal resources to interpret policy provisions. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should consult legal resources or experts to interpret ambiguous policy language effectively. Legal professionals provide insights into statutory definitions, case law interpretations, and regulatory guidelines applicable to surplus lines insurance policies. By seeking legal guidance, adjusters can resolve ambiguities, clarify coverage terms, and ensure equitable claims resolutions that align with insurer obligations and policyholder entitlements. This approach supports claims handling transparency, mitigates disputes, and enhances regulatory compliance in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. Question 81. Surplus lines insurance claims handling process. Discuss the role of underwriting information in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. How should underwriting data influence claims decisions and ensure accurate coverage assessments? A. Disregarding underwriting information to expedite claims processing. B. Using underwriting data to assess policyholder credibility. C. Avoiding underwriting assessments for claims decisions. D. Delaying underwriting reviews to increase claim settlements. Answer is B. Using underwriting data to assess policyholder credibility. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should use underwriting information to assess policyholder credibility, validate coverage terms, and determine claims eligibility accurately. Underwriting data provides insights into policyholder risk profiles, coverage limits, and policy conditions that influence claims decisions. By leveraging underwriting information, adjusters can verify policy terms, assess claim validity, and uphold insurer obligations in claims handling processes. This approach supports claims accuracy, mitigates fraud risks, and enhances insurer credibility in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. Question 82. Surplus lines insurance claims investigation techniques. Discuss the significance of utilizing outside experts and specialists in surplus lines insurance claims investigations in South Dakota. How should adjusters leverage external expertise to enhance claims assessments and ensure thorough investigations? A. Ignoring external expertise to expedite claims processing. B. Collaborating with experts to validate complex claims. C. Avoiding specialist input to minimize costs. D. Delaying expert assessments to increase policyholder satisfaction. Answer is B. Collaborating with experts to validate complex claims. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should collaborate with outside experts and specialists to validate complex claims, assess technical aspects, and gather specialized insights crucial for accurate claims assessments. External experts, such as forensic investigators, engineers, or medical professionals, provide expertise in evaluating specific claim details, verifying damages, and supporting objective claim decisions. By leveraging external expertise, adjusters can enhance claims investigations, mitigate fraud risks, and ensure thorough assessments that align with insurer obligations and regulatory requirements. This approach supports claims accuracy, enhances insurer credibility, and fosters trust among policyholders in surplus lines insurance claims handling. Question 83. Surplus lines insurance claims evaluation. Explain the process of determining coverage and liability in surplus lines insurance claims evaluation in South Dakota. How should adjusters apply policy provisions and regulatory guidelines to ensure accurate coverage assessments and fair liability determinations? A. Applying arbitrary coverage limits to expedite claim decisions. B. Using policy exclusions to deny all claims. C. Conducting thorough policy analysis and evidence review. D. Delaying coverage determinations to increase insurer profits. Answer is C. Conducting thorough policy analysis and evidence review. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should conduct thorough policy analysis and evidence review to determine coverage and liability accurately. This includes interpreting policy provisions, assessing policyholder entitlements, and reviewing evidence to substantiate claims. By conducting comprehensive evaluations, adjusters can ensure adherence to policy terms, regulatory guidelines, and fair claims practices in surplus lines insurance claims handling. This approach supports objective coverage assessments, mitigates disputes, and enhances insurer credibility by aligning claims decisions with policyholder expectations and legal requirements. Question 84. Surplus lines insurance claims ethics and professionalism. Discuss the ethical considerations surplus lines claims adjusters should uphold when handling claims involving high-profile or sensitive issues in South Dakota. How should adjusters demonstrate ethical conduct to ensure fair treatment and maintain insurer integrity? A. Expediting claims handling processes to minimize public scrutiny. B. Maintaining confidentiality and respecting privacy rights. C. Disclosing sensitive claim details to third parties. D. Delaying claims resolutions to increase policyholder dissatisfaction. Answer is B. Maintaining confidentiality and respecting privacy rights. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should prioritize maintaining confidentiality and respecting privacy rights when handling claims involving high-profile or sensitive issues. Adjusters must adhere to confidentiality obligations, protect sensitive claim information, and respect policyholder privacy throughout the claims handling process. By safeguarding confidentiality, adjusters demonstrate ethical conduct, preserve policyholder trust, and mitigate reputational risks for insurers in surplus lines insurance claims handling. This approach supports fair treatment, upholds insurer integrity, and ensures compliance with confidentiality laws and regulatory standards in South Dakota's insurance marketplace. Question 85. Surplus lines insurance claims settlement. Discuss the implications of settlement agreements in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. How should adjusters negotiate and document settlements to ensure compliance with regulatory requirements and avoid legal disputes? A. Offering settlements without policyholder consent. B. Negotiating fair settlements based on policy terms. C. Avoiding settlement discussions to expedite claims processing. D. Delaying settlement agreements to maximize insurer profits. Answer is B. Negotiating fair settlements based on policy terms. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should negotiate settlements based on policy terms, factual evidence, and legal considerations to ensure compliance with regulatory requirements and avoid legal disputes. Adjusters must communicate settlement offers transparently, obtain policyholder consent, and document agreements accurately to uphold contractual obligations and regulatory standards. By negotiating fair settlements, adjusters enhance policyholder satisfaction, mitigate disputes, and maintain insurer credibility in surplus lines insurance claims handling. This approach supports ethical claims practices, regulatory compliance, and fair treatment of policyholders in settlement negotiations. Question 86. Surplus lines insurance claims litigation. Explain the role of legal counsel in surplus lines insurance claims litigation in South Dakota. How should insurers collaborate with legal representatives to manage litigation risks and achieve favorable outcomes? A. Consulting legal counsel only after litigation commences. B. Engaging legal counsel early to assess litigation strategies. C. Avoiding legal representation to minimize expenses. D. Delaying legal consultations to increase claim disputes. Answer is B. Engaging legal counsel early to assess litigation strategies. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers should engage legal counsel early in claims litigation to assess litigation risks, develop effective defense strategies, and navigate legal complexities efficiently. Legal counsel provides expertise in interpreting insurance laws, evaluating case merits, and representing insurers' interests in court proceedings. By collaborating with legal representatives early, insurers can mitigate litigation risks, protect policyholder interests, and achieve favorable outcomes through proactive litigation management in surplus lines insurance claims handling. This approach supports strategic defense planning, minimizes legal expenses, and ensures compliance with legal standards in South Dakota's insurance litigation environment. Question 87. Introduction to surplus lines insurance. Discuss the key characteristics and advantages of surplus lines insurance in South Dakota. How do these characteristics differentiate surplus lines insurance from standard admitted insurance markets? A. Offering standardized coverage options to policyholders. B. Providing coverage for high risk or unique exposures. C. Avoiding regulatory oversight and compliance. D. Delaying claims payments to increase insurer profits. Answer is B. Providing coverage for high-risk or unique exposures. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurance distinguishes itself by providing coverage for high-risk or unique exposures that standard admitted insurance markets typically avoid. Surplus lines insurers offer specialized policies that address non-standard risks, unique liabilities, or hard-to-place exposures not covered by admitted insurers. By filling coverage gaps in the market, surplus lines insurance serves policyholders with complex insurance needs, ensuring access to tailored coverage solutions and risk management strategies. This approach supports market flexibility, enhances consumer choice, and contributes to South Dakota's insurance market diversity through innovative insurance products and specialized risk solutions. Question 88. Surplus lines insurance claims handling process. Explain the importance of effective communication and documentation in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. How should adjusters utilize these practices to enhance claims management and regulatory compliance? A. Minimizing communication to expedite claims processing. B. Documenting claim details and communications accurately. C. Avoiding documentation to reduce administrative burdens. D. Delaying communication to increase policyholder frustrations. Answer is B. Documenting claim details and communications accurately. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should prioritize effective communication and documentation to enhance claims management and ensure regulatory compliance. Adjusters must document claim details, communications with stakeholders, and decision-making processes comprehensively to maintain a clear record of claims handling activities. Accurate documentation supports transparency, facilitates claims audits, and demonstrates compliance with regulatory requirements in surplus lines insurance claims handling. By documenting communications and claim activities, adjusters enhance claims processing efficiency, mitigate disputes, and uphold insurer credibility in South Dakota's insurance marketplace. Question 89. Regulatory compliance in surplus lines claims handling. Discuss the impact of state and federal regulations on surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. How should insurers navigate regulatory requirements to ensure compliance and maintain market stability? A. Disregarding state regulations to expedite claims processing. B. Adhering to surplus lines tax reporting and licensing requirements. C. Ignoring federal guidelines to minimize administrative costs. D. Delaying regulatory submissions to avoid regulatory scrutiny. Answer is B. Adhering to surplus lines tax reporting and licensing requirements. In South Dakota, surplus lines insurers must comply with state and federal regulations, including surplus lines tax reporting, licensing requirements, and regulatory filings. Adherence to these regulations ensures legal compliance, market stability, and operational continuity by managing risks associated with non-admitted insurance. Insurers must fulfill surplus lines tax obligations, maintain proper licensing, and submit regulatory filings to state insurance departments to uphold regulatory standards and protect policyholders' interests. This approach supports regulatory transparency, enhances market integrity, and ensures insurer accountability in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota. Question 90. Surplus lines insurance claims ethics and professionalism. Discuss the ethical considerations in handling claims involving uninsured or underinsured motorists in surplus lines insurance in South Dakota. How should adjusters uphold ethical standards to ensure fair treatment and legal compliance? A. Denying claims without investigating uninsured motorists. B. Collaborating with legal counsel to resolve claims disputes. C. Ignoring uninsured motorist coverage requirements. D. Delaying claims resolutions to increase insurer profits. Answer is B. Collaborating with legal counsel to resolve claims disputes. In South Dakota, surplus lines claims adjusters should collaborate with legal counsel to handle claims involving uninsured or underinsured motorists ethically and professionally. Adjusters must investigate claims thoroughly, assess policy coverage, and consult legal experts to interpret insurance laws and coverage obligations accurately. By collaborating with legal counsel, adjusters can navigate complex claims scenarios, protect policyholder rights, and achieve fair and equitable outcomes in compliance with legal requirements and ethical standards. This approach supports ethical claims practices, enhances regulatory compliance, and maintains insurer credibility in surplus lines insurance claims handling in South Dakota.